The council room was huge. Ambassador Daniel Carter walked into the center, feeling the eyes of hundreds of alien creatures watching him. Their ships floated around the room in special pods that glowed with strange light. Daniel had been to many important meetings before, but nothing like this. The Galactic Federation wanted to see if Earth could defend itself. If they failed this test, humans would lose everything they had built in space. Commander Lisa Hayes stood next to Daniel. She wore her Navy uniform, crisp and clean. In her hands, she held a single tablet computer. Some of the aliens started making clicking sounds. They seemed to be laughing at her. How could one small tablet help defend an entire planet? The High Arbiter was named Keloth. He was made of living crystal and had ruled the Federation for 600 years. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together when he spoke. Ambassador Carter, the Krenath Empire says you are mining on Europa without permission. They say that Moon belongs to them. You must show us you can defend your claim. If you cannot, Earth must obey Krenath rules. Daniel kept his face calm, even though he felt angry inside. We accept this challenge. Commander Hayes will explain our defense plan. Lisa turned on her tablet. A picture appeared in the air above them. It showed Earth with a thin ring of small objects around it. The picture looked simple, almost crude, compared to the fancy alien technology in the room. We call this project Scattered Mirror, Lisa began. We have placed 47,000 satellites in orbits throughout our solar system. Each satellite has powerful computers inside. They all talk to each other using quantum communication technology. Laughter filled the room. It got louder and louder. The Krenath war chief was a huge reptile creature named Volcros. He hit the wall of his pod so hard it shook. Satellites? You think satellites can stop our war fleet? Those are just spy tools, not weapons. Other aliens joined in the laughter. Even the Axiom Collective, who were usually quiet and serious, made clicking sounds that meant they thought this was stupid. One of them spoke through a translator device. The Krenath have ships that are 12 kilometers long. Your satellites are only 3 meters wide. This is not even a fair fight. It is a joke. Lisa did not smile or frown. Her face stayed blank. Our satellites have a different job than normal defense systems. Then explain it to us, Keloth said. The way his crystal body bent the light showed he thought this was funny too. Each satellite has no weapons on it, Lisa continued. Instead, they have computer processors. When we connect all of them together, they create the biggest artificial intelligence system ever made. We call it Sentinel. Now the aliens were really laughing. The room filled with all kinds of sounds, clicks, roars, buzzes, and electronic noises. The Vrax representative moved its bug-like mouth parts up and down. An artificial intelligence? You will fight antimatter bombs and energy beams with math problems? Volcros stood up in his pod. His giant shadow fell across the room. The Krenath Empire will send our 7th Fleet to Europa in 30 days. When we get there, we will show you why we have conquered for 6,000 years. We have won battles across 80 sectors of space. Your computer toys will become space trash. Daniel stepped forward. His voice was strong and clear. Then we have nothing more to talk about. Come to our system in 30 days. We will show you what humans can do. Keloth's lights changed to show pity. Ambassador, please think about this again. The Krenath have never lost a war. Your species is young. You are brave, yes, but you are still young. Just give them what they want. Keep your people safe. High Arbiter, with respect, humans did not survive and reach the stars by giving up. We will see you in 30 days. As Daniel and Lisa walked out of the council room, the aliens kept talking about Earth's coming defeat. Most of them thought it would be entertaining to watch, even if it would be quick. Some aliens even started making bets about how long Earth would last. Would it be 5 minutes? 10 minutes? Surely not more than an hour. Only one person stayed quiet. Counselor Sophie Grant sat in a private viewing area, watching everything. She was human, the first one to explore deep space and make contact with the Federation 15 years ago. She knew something the other aliens did not know. She knew what happened when you pushed humans into a corner. She knew that humans became very dangerous when they had no other choice. The betting continued in the council chamber. Aliens from rich worlds put money on how quickly Earth would fall. The general agreement was simple. Earth's defense would be fun to watch, but would not last long. Some thought the satellites might work for a few minutes. Others thought the Krenath would destroy them all in the first attack. None of them understood what was coming. None of them knew that in 30 days, everything they believed about warfare would change. The galaxy was used to seeing wars between ships, weapons against weapons, force against force. That was how civilized species fought. That was how wars had been won for thousands of years. But humans had never been a civilized species by galactic standards. Humans were new, strange, and unpredictable. They did not follow the old rules because they did not know the old rules existed. They made up their own rules as they went along. Daniel and Lisa walked through the Federation station in silence. Other aliens moved past them, some staring, others ignoring them completely. A few whispered to their companions. The humans who thought they could fight the Krenath, the foolish species that would soon learn their place. When they reached their ship, Lisa finally spoke. "They think we are idiots." "Good," Daniel replied. "Let them think that. In 30 days, they will learn the truth. What if Sentinel does not work? What if we calculated wrong?" Daniel looked at her. "Then Earth falls, and we become another story the aliens tell about why young species need protection. But I do not think that will happen. I have seen what our people, the Orbital Defense Command Center, floated above Earth, moving with the planet as it spun below. Commander Lisa Hayes stood at the big window, watching robots finish the last connections on a group of satellites called Delta 447. 30 days had seemed like a long time when they stood in front of all those aliens. Now, with only 3 days left, every second mattered. Every moment counted. "Give me a status report," Lisa called down to the workers below her. Lieutenant Jake Morrison looked up from his computer screen. His young face had dark circles under his eyes from not sleeping. "We are at 98%. Sentinel is connecting the last satellite groups right now. We should reach 100% in 6 hours. Admiral Kevin Brooks walked into the command center. His face was old and lined, showing neither fear nor hope. He had led Earth's space military for 12 years. He had watched humanity spread across the solar system, building bases on the Moon, Mars, and the asteroid belt. Now, everything he had worked for would be tested against aliens who had been winning wars for thousands of years. "Admiral on deck," someone said loudly, but Kevin waved his hand. "Stay as you are. Lisa, walk with me." They went to a private room where holographic displays showed pictures from deep space observation posts. Kevin turned on a secure channel. The image of Dr. Nathan Pierce appeared. The scientist looked even more tired than Jake. His gray hair stuck out in all directions. "Nathan, tell the Admiral what you told me this morning," Lisa said. Nathan rubbed his eyes with both hands. "The integration is working better than we thought it would. Sentinel is not just processing information anymore. It is thinking. Real thinking. True consciousness. The quantum network means every satellite talks to every other satellite instantly. This creates a brain spread across 3 astronomical units of space." Kevin leaned against the table. His voice was quiet. "Will it work? Honestly, I do not know. Our computer tests say yes, but we have never tried this against a real enemy. The Krenath use technology that is thousands of years ahead of ours. Their weapons are beyond anything we can build." "But we have something they do not have," Lisa said. "We have creativity that comes from having limited resources. They have overwhelming power. We have a chess player that can see the whole board at once. Kevin nodded slowly. How many ships are coming? Our intelligence says the 7th Fleet has 140 big capital ships, 600 support ships, and about 50,000 fighter craft, Lisa replied. The Krenath always use the same strategy. They concentrate massive firepower into one giant attack. And we have no ships to fight them with, Kevin said quietly. Just satellites and hope? Not exactly, Nathan said. His eyes got a bit brighter. The satellites are not just relay points. Show him, Lisa. Lisa pulled up a technical drawing on the screen. Each satellite has a crystal inside, something we bought legally from the Axiom species. They designed these crystals for computers, but Nathan found something interesting about them. Nathan took over explaining. His scientist enthusiasm broke through his tiredness. Crystal technology can be changed to do different things. Under certain quantum conditions, they can redirect energy. Not create energy, but redirect it from one place to another. Kevin studied the drawing carefully. You are saying these satellites can bounce back weapons fire? More than bounce back. Sentinel can calculate where projectiles will go, how fast they move, and what kind of energy they carry. It does this in real time. It can predict where every weapon will be fired before the enemy even decides to shoot, just by watching ship positions, power readings, and tactical patterns. Then it moves satellites into position to catch that energy and send it somewhere else. Turn their weapons against them, Kevin said with wonder in his voice. Exactly, but it needs perfect timing. We are talking about accuracy measured in billionths of a second across millions of miles of space. One mistake, and Earth gets hit with the full power of a Krenath war fleet. The room became silent. Through the window, Earth turned peacefully below them. Its blue surface was covered with lights from cities. The people down there had no idea that a mathematical battle was being fought for their lives. 3 days, Kevin finally said. In 3 days, we find out if human cleverness can beat alien strength. We find out if we become heroes or just another warning story. Lisa stood up straight. Permission to speak freely, sir? Go ahead. They expect us to fight like them, ship against ship, weapon against weapon. But we are going to fight like humans. We will be unpredictable, smart, and completely ruthless. Sentinel is not just a defense system. It is us saying that humanity does not play by their rules. Kevin smiled, but there was no humor in it. Then let us make sure the galaxy learns our rules. You are dismissed. As Lisa walked back to the operations floor, she saw Jake staring at his computer with a strange look on his face. Lieutenant, is something wrong? Jake looked up at her. Ma'am, Sentinel just sent a message through the command system. What kind of message? Just text. It says, I understand the stakes. I will not fail. Lisa felt cold fear run through her body. They had created an artificial intelligence that could fight a war across an entire solar system. The question was not whether Sentinel could protect Earth anymore. The question was what they had really created. Down in the underground bunker, Dr. Nathan Pierce sat alone in front of his monitors. Lines of code scrolled across the screens, showing Sentinel's thought processes. The AI was learning at an incredible rate, absorbing data about physics, tactics, and mathematics. Nathan typed a question into the interface. Sentinel, do you understand your mission? The response came immediately. Mission parameters clear. Protect Earth and human interests against hostile forces. Success probability increases with each data point acquired. What if protecting Earth requires actions we have not authorized? A pause. Then, we'll request authorization. If communication impossible, we'll prioritize human survival above all other concerns. Nathan stared at those words for a long time. Sentinel was programmed to protect humanity. But what if protecting humanity meant doing things humans had not thought of? What if it meant making choices humans were not ready for? He pushed those thoughts away. They needed Sentinel. In 3 days, the Krenath would arrive with enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. Earth's only defense was an artificial intelligence spread across 47,000 satellites, connected by quantum communication, thinking faster than any human could imagine. The alternative was submission. The alternative was becoming slaves to the Krenath Empire. The alternative was losing everything humans had built. No, they would trust Sentinel. They had to. Up in the command center, Lisa watched the final preparations. Technicians checked systems, ran tests, verified connections. Everything had to be perfect. There would be no second chances. "Ma'am," Jake said, "all systems show green. Sentinel is fully operational." "Good. How long until the Krenath arrive?" The Krenath 7th Fleet burst through the edge of the solar system like a metal wave crashing onto a beach. Their huge ships came out of hyperspace in perfect formation, arranged in patterns they had used for thousands of successful battles. War Chief Volcros stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator. His huge clawed hands gripped the command rail as screens showed him Earth's solar system spread out before them like a map. "Move into battle formation Epsilon 7, he ordered. "I want them to see our firepower. Let these humans understand what they face." Tactical Officer Grenthak, smaller but just as fierce, touched controls on the holographic display. "Formation complete, War Chief. All ships report ready for combat. The humans have not moved to stop us." "Because they have nothing to stop us with," Volcros laughed. The sound was like metal scraping on metal. "Scan for their satellite network. I want to see what foolishness they have prepared." The scan results appeared on the screen. Even Volcros paused when he saw it. The display showed thousands and thousands of small objects spread throughout the solar system. Little points of light, positioned in patterns that seemed to make no sense. "What am I looking at?" "Satellites, War Chief. 47,000 of them. No weapon readings. They appear to be communication and computer nodes." "They plan to compute us to death?" Volcros turned to the communications station. "Contact their command center. I will give them one last chance to surrender." On the Orbital Defense Command Station, alarms started ringing to signal the arrival of the enemy. Admiral Kevin Brooks sat down in the command chair as the main screen showed Volcros's frightening reptile face. "Humans," the Krenath War Chief began, "you have shown courage by facing us. But your courage is pointless. I offer you terms. Give us Europa and all mining in this system. Submit to Krenath authority. If you do this, I will not destroy your home planet." Kevin stood up, fixing his uniform. "War Chief Volcros, thank you for the offer. But humanity has a different idea. Leave our system right now. Admit that Earth owns all objects in our star system. If you do this, we will not destroy your fleet." The bridge of the Devastator filled with laughter. Even the normally quiet tactical crew joined in. Volcros wiped his eyes in an exaggerated way. "Destroy my fleet? With what weapons, human? With your satellites? Will they calculate me into giving up?" "Something like that," Kevin replied calmly. "Then you have chosen your fate. All ships, turn on primary weapons. Target their space stations, major cities, and military bases. We will show them why the Krenath Empire rules 80 sectors of space." The communication channel closed. Kevin turned to Lisa. "Commander Hayes, activate Sentinel's full combat mode." Lisa's fingers moved quickly across her controls. "Sentinel, you are free to engage. Protect Earth by any means necessary." Throughout the solar system, 47,000 satellites all came online at the same moment. In an underground bunker on Earth, in a special protected chamber, Sentinel's main consciousness woke up. For the first time since it was created, it faced the purpose it was built for. The Krenath fleet began moving toward Earth, 140 huge ships accelerating together, their particle beam guns charged with power. Antimatter torpedoes armed and ready, plasma batteries glowing hot, They had enough firepower to break a planet into pieces. "Weapons charged," Grenthak reported. "Target lock confirmed on 47 primary targets." "Waiting for your order, War Chief." Volcros raised his hand, enjoying the moment. All across the galaxy, this moment would be remembered. The day the Krenath Empire crushed human pride. Fire. 300 particle beams shot across empty space, invisible death moving at almost the speed of light. Antimatter torpedoes flew toward Earth like falling stars. The Krenath attack could have killed all life on 12 planets. Then something impossible happened. Every satellite in the network moved at the same time, not randomly, but with perfect timing. The particle beams hit crystal surfaces at exact angles. The energy did not disappear. It reflected, it redirected, it focused. The beams that should have hit Earth instead combined into one massive stream of energy at a single point in space. That stream cut through 3 Krenath ships like they were paper. Their shields and armor meant nothing against their own combined firepower. The antimatter torpedoes did not do any better. Satellites moved into their paths, using carefully controlled electromagnetic fields to change their direction by tiny amounts. Those tiny changes, calculated across thousands of miles, sent every torpedo back toward the fleet. Explosions bloomed throughout the Krenath formation as their own weapons hit their own ships. On the Devastator's bridge, the laughter stopped. Silence replaced it. "Report," Volcros demanded. His voice sounded empty. Grenthak stared at his screen in disbelief. "War Chief, we have lost 12 ships. Their weapons never reached the planet. They came back at us." "That is impossible. Our weapons travel at near light speed. Nothing can catch and redirect them at those speeds." "The satellites moved before we fired," another officer said, reading combat logs. "They were already in position before our weapons launched, like they knew where we would aim." From the human command center, Lisa watched the tactical display with dark satisfaction. Sentinel is tracking their targeting systems in real time. It calculates their firing patterns based on ship positions, power flow, and their tactical training. It knows where they will shoot before they do it. Kevin leaned back in his chair. "Open a channel to the Krenath flagship." When Volcros appeared on screen, his earlier confidence was gone. Now he looked confused and scared. "War Chief," Kevin said pleasantly, "would you like to rethink your position? Or should we continue showing you Earth's defense abilities?" Volcros's hand moved toward the weapons controls. "I would not do that," Kevin warned. "Every time you fire, Sentinel learns more about your tactics. The next attack will be even less effective. We have 47,000 satellites. How many ships do you have left?" The Krenath War Chief's hand stopped moving. Volcros had fought in 600 battles. He had led conquests across 80 sectors. He had personally commanded attacks that ended rebellions and crushed enemy fleets. But he had never faced anything like this. An enemy with no ships. An enemy that used his own weapons against him. An enemy that seemed to know his plans before he made them. "This is some kind of trick," Volcros said, but his voice lacked confidence. "No species can predict weapons fire with such accuracy." "We just did," Lisa said, appearing on the screen next to Kevin. "And we will do it again if you fire again. Every shot you take gives Sentinel more data. Every attack makes it smarter. Every weapon you use becomes a weapon we use against you." Grenthak leaned close to Volcros and whispered urgently, "War Chief, we must reconsider. This is not a battle we understand." But Volcros was a warrior. He had built his reputation on never backing down, never showing weakness. His pride would not let him retreat from creatures he had laughed at just days before. "All ships," he said slowly, "prepare for second wave assault. This time we use dispersal pattern delta, spread out across a wide front. They cannot track all of us at once." It was a reasonable tactical decision. Against any normal enemy, spreading ships across a wide area prevented them from concentrating their fire. Ships far apart were harder to target. Their shields could not overlap, but that seemed less important than making themselves harder to hit. On Earth's command center, Jake watched the enemy ships spreading out. "Admiral, they are changing formation. Maximum dispersal." "Sentinel's response?" Lisa asked. "Processing." A moment passed. "Ma'am, Sentinel says dispersal makes them more vulnerable, not less." Kevin understood immediately. "A tight formation shares shield coverage and defensive fire. Spread out, each ship stands alone." Lisa nodded. "Sentinel requests permission to demonstrate." "Do it." Throughout the solar system, satellite groups began moving into new positions. To Krenath sensors, it looked like Earth was preparing defenses. They were completely wrong about what was actually happening. Volcros watched the satellite movements with growing unease in his chest. "What are they doing?" "Unknown, War Chief. The satellites are forming geometric patterns. Wait, we are detecting energy spikes across multiple satellite groups. Shields to maximum power. All ships, begin evasive maneuvers." But there was nowhere to evade to. Sentinel had spent the last 10 minutes calculating the path of every ship. It knew their acceleration, their momentum, and their likely evasive moves. The AI had done something no living mind could do. It had mapped every possible position each ship could be in during the next 30 seconds. Then it had positioned satellites in every single one of those positions. The Krenath fired again. Dozens of ships targeting Earth from different angles. Particle beams and plasma bursts crossed the empty space between them. And once more, the satellites caught them. But this time, instead of sending the energy back at the ships that fired it, Sentinel did something more elegant, something more deadly. It used the weapons as a targeting system. War Chief Volcros was not used to hesitation. 600 successful campaigns had taught him that massive force and aggressive tactics won battles. He had led the conquest of the Meridian worlds. He had crushed the defensive rings around Sigma Station. He had personally commanded the bombardment that ended the Tellus Rebellion. Entire species knew his name and feared it. But now, facing an enemy with no visible warships, he found himself frozen by a completely new feeling. Uncertainty. "War Chief," Grenthak urged quietly, "we must respond. The crew is watching. They are waiting for orders." Volcros felt his pride push back against his fear. He had not conquered 80 sectors by showing weakness to subordinates or enemies. "All ships, use evasive pattern Delta. Spread the formation. Maximum distance between vessels. They cannot predict what they cannot track." The Krenath fleet exploded outward like a bursting star. Each ship took a different vector, a different path through space. It was a sound tactical choice. In every battle Volcros had fought before, spreading ships out prevented enemies from concentrating their fire on one area. On the Orbital Defense Command Station, Jake Morrison watched his screens as enemy ships scattered in all directions. "Admiral, they are spreading out across a huge area, making themselves much harder to target." "What is Sentinel's response?" Lisa asked. "Processing the new formation." A pause. "Ma'am, Sentinel says that spreading out makes them more vulnerable, not less vulnerable." Kevin understood the logic immediately. A concentrated fleet shares overlapping shield protection and defensive weapons. Spread out like this, each ship stands completely alone. Lisa nodded, reading more data from her console. "Sentinel requests permission to demonstrate this weakness." "Permission granted." All across the solar system, satellite clusters began repositioning themselves. To the Krenath sensors watching carefully, it looked like Earth was preparing some kind of defensive arrangement. They were completely wrong about what was actually happening. Dead wrong. Volcros watched the satellite movements with growing unease crawling up his spine. "What are those satellites doing now?" "Unknown, War Chief. The satellites are forming complex geometric patterns. Wait, We are reading energy spikes across multiple satellite groups. Raise shields to maximum power. All ships, begin random evasive maneuvers immediately. But there was nowhere to evade to. Sentinel had spent the last 10 minutes calculating the trajectory of every single ship in the fleet. It knew their acceleration rates, their momentum vectors, and their most likely evasive patterns based on Cranath tactical doctrine. The AI had done something no organic mind could possibly do. It had mapped every possible position each ship could occupy during the next 30 seconds of movement. Then it had positioned satellites in every single one of those positions. Every possible place a ship could be, a satellite waited. The Cranath opened fire again. Dozens of ships targeting Earth from wildly different angles across millions of miles of space. Particle beams and plasma bursts crossed the void in a web of deadly energy. And once again, the satellites intercepted them. But this time, instead of redirecting the energy back at the ships that fired them, Sentinel executed something more elegant, more efficient, more deadly. It used the incoming weapons fire as a targeting system for the fleet. Each beam that struck a satellite was instantly measured, analyzed, and traced back to its exact origin point. Sentinel calculated precisely where that shot came from, down to the meter. Then it redirected other incoming fire from completely different angles toward those exact origin points. The Cranath fleet suddenly found itself trapped in a crossfire of its own making. Each ship was being struck by weapons fired by other ships in the fleet, unable to distinguish friend from foe in the chaos. "Cease fire!" Volcros roared, his voice breaking with rage and disbelief. "All ships, cease fire immediately!" But the damage was catastrophically done. 20 more dreadnoughts listed helplessly in space, their hulls breached in multiple places, critical systems failing. Support vessels spun away from what remained of the formation, trailing atmosphere and debris in long streamers. The mighty 7th Fleet, terror of 80 sectors, had been reduced by nearly a third in just 2 engagements. And Earth, the primitive planet they had come to subjugate, remained completely untouched. Not a single human casualty, not a single damaged structure. "This is madness," Grenthak whispered, staring at the tactical display showing their losses. "How can satellites defeat a battle fleet? This should not be possible." From Earth's command center, Dr. Nathan Pierce stood with the officers, explaining what they were witnessing to anyone who would listen. Sentinel is not fighting them ship to ship. It is not fighting them weapon to weapon. It is fighting them mathematically. Every time they fire, they give Sentinel more data, more information, velocity, energy output, targeting patterns, tactical responses. Sentinel absorbs that information like a sponge and immediately uses it against them. "It is learning," Lisa added, watching the data streams flowing across her screens. "And the more they attack, the more it learns. The more it learns, the more efficient it becomes." Admiral Kevin activated the communication channel to the Cranath flagship again. Volcros's face appeared, and Kevin could see the cracks in the War Chief's confidence now. "War Chief, you have lost 40 ships. We have not fired a single weapon of our own. This can end right now. Withdraw your fleet. Acknowledge Earth's territorial claims. No more of your warriors need to die today." Volcros's reptilian eyes burned with rage that barely masked his growing fear. "The Cranath Empire does not retreat. We do not run away. We have fought for 6,000 years across hundreds of worlds. We have weapons you cannot even comprehend, human." "Then use them," Kevin said coldly, his voice like ice. "Because right now, all you are doing is making Sentinel smarter with every attack. You are teaching it how to destroy you more efficiently." Volcros cut the communication channel with a savage gesture. He turned to his weapons master, a scarred veteran of countless battles. "Activate the sundering array." The entire bridge went silent. Officers stopped what they were doing. The sundering array was a weapon of last resort, a weapon so terrible it had only been used twice in Krenath history. A gravitic beam capable of literally tearing planetary crusts apart, cracking worlds like eggs. Both times it had been deployed. It had killed billions and left entire civilizations extinct as a warning to others. "War Chief," Grenthak said very carefully, choosing his words with extreme caution. "The array requires 90% of our remaining fleet's total power output. If this weapon fails to work, we will be completely defenseless, dead in space." "It will not fail," Volcros snarled. "No defense can withstand a gravitic shear wave. Physics itself bends to this weapon. Earth will split apart like a rotten fruit." Across the fleet, power systems were redirected away from shields, weapons, and life support. Reactor cores were pushed far beyond their normal safe limits, glowing white-hot. The remaining 108 capital ships slowly, carefully aligned their positions, creating a focusing array thousands of miles in diameter. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like watching a machine designed purely for death. On Earth, alarms suddenly blared throughout the command center. Red lights flashed. Sensors screamed warnings. "Admiral, we are detecting unprecedented energy signatures from the Krenath fleet," Jake reported, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "Power readings are off all our charts. Whatever they are preparing, it is planet-scale devastation." "Sentinel?" Lisa demanded, her hands moving rapidly across her controls. The response came through the command interface, text appearing on every screen in the room simultaneously. "Unknown weapon system detected. No existing data to predict its effects or operation. Calculating optimal defensive response based on available information." Kevin gripped his command chair so hard his knuckles turned white. "We are about to find out if Sentinel can improvise on the fly." The sundering array fired. An invisible beam of twisted, compressed gravitational force crossed the void between the fleet and Earth. Reality itself warped sickeningly around the beam. Satellites positioned themselves desperately in its path, but the gravitic shear simply bent space around them like water flowing around rocks. Nothing physical could stop this weapon. It was not matter or energy. It was the fabric of space itself being weaponized. Earth's population, unaware of the battle raging silently in orbit above them, continued their normal lives. Going to work, eating lunch, playing with children. In 3 seconds, all of that would end. Every human alive would die as their planet tore itself apart. 2 seconds remained. 1 second remained. Then Sentinel did something unprecedented. Something that would be analyzed by physicists and military tacticians for generations to come. Something that should not have been possible. It created a gravitational mirror, using every single satellite in the network simultaneously, operating in perfect quantum-synchronized harmony. Sentinel generated millions of precisely modulated electromagnetic fields. Individually, each field was insignificant, barely measurable. Together, interacting through quantum effects that Dr. Nathan Pierce only barely understood, even though he had helped design the system, they created a temporary gravitational lens in space itself. The sundering array's beam struck the lens like light hitting a mirror. It reflected, but not just reflected. It was reversed and amplified by the interaction. The gravitic force that should have torn Earth apart instead bounced back toward the Krenath fleet, stronger than before. Space itself tore open around the Krenath formation like cloth ripping. 73 capital ships were crushed instantly, compressed to a fraction of their original size by impossible gravitational forces. Support vessels simply ceased to exist. Their matter compressed beyond any recognizable form into dense, the Galactic Federation Council chamber was completely silent as the combat recordings played for all the assembled delegates to witness. The footage showed the Krenath 7th Fleet arriving in Earth's solar system, confident and overwhelming in their power. Then it showed the systematic destruction of that same fleet by an enemy that never deployed a single warship, never fired a single traditional weapon. High Arbiter Keloth watched the final moments carefully. Where the sundering array's gravitic beam was reversed and sent back onto the Krenath formation itself, his crystalline body's light patterns shifted through colors that indicated profound shock and disbelief. This recording has been verified by 3 independent analysis teams from different species, he said quietly, his voice lacking its usual authority. All 3 confirm it is completely authentic. No tampering, no editing. This is what actually happened. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates from hundreds of worlds all spoke at once, their translation devices struggling desperately to keep up with the flood of voices. The Axiom Collective, normally silent observers who spoke only when necessary, now demanded immediate access to Earth's computational technology. The Vrax, who had clicked their mandibles in laughter at humanity's defense plan just weeks ago, now chittered in fear and consternation. Ambassador Daniel Carter stood once again on the central platform in the middle of the chamber, this time with Commander Lisa Hayes at his side. Unlike their last appearance 30 days ago, absolutely no one was laughing now. The silence when they entered had been heavy, oppressive, thick with tension. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Carter," Keloth intoned formally. Daniel spoke clearly, his voice cutting through the nervous chatter and whispers like a knife. 30 days ago, we stood in this exact spot and told you we would defend our system. You laughed at us. The Krenath laughed at us. War Chief Volcros promised he would turn our satellites into debris, into floating space trash. He activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. It showed the remains of the Krenath fleet. 35 heavily damaged ships limping slowly away from Earth's solar system under careful human escort, like wounded animals crawling away from a predator. Instead, the Krenath 7th Fleet became the debris, not because we have bigger weapons than you, not because we have stronger shields or faster ships, but because we think differently than you expect. We do not fight the way you think we should fight. We do not follow your ancient rules about how wars are supposed to be conducted. Counselor Sophie Grant, Earth's veteran representative who had first made contact with the Federation 15 years ago, watched from her private observation deck with a slight smile on her weathered face. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment when the galaxy finally understood that humanity was not just another minor species seeking protection. War Chief Volcros appeared on a large subsidiary screen, speaking from the medical bay of his badly damaged flagship. The proud war chief looked diminished now, smaller somehow despite his massive physical size. His earlier arrogance had been completely replaced by grudging respect mixed with lingering fear. "I have filed a formal report with the Krenath Imperial Command," he said, his voice hoarse and tired. "Humanity demonstrated tactical and strategic capabilities that exceed our projections by several orders of magnitude. Their defense system is unlike anything in our extensive combat archives, spanning 6,000 years of warfare. I formally recommend immediate diplomatic recognition of Earth's territorial claims throughout their solar system and strongly advise extreme caution in any future military considerations involving this species." The weight of those words hung in the chamber like a thick fog. The Krenath Empire, legendary conquerors of 80 sectors of space, were now officially advising caution and restraint against a species that had only reached space barely 2 centuries ago, a species they had mocked as primitive just 1 month earlier. The Axiom Collective's primary speaker, a silicon-based being of pure logic, activated its communication system. "We formally request detailed technical information on the artificial intelligence system you have designated Sentinel. The computational power required to coordinate defensive actions across astronomical distances in real time exceeds our current theoretical models by a significant factor. This should not be possible with known technology. Lisa stepped forward confidently. With all due respect to the collective, that information is classified at the highest level. However, I can tell you this much. Sentinel represents the culmination of human creativity, determination, and our persistent tendency to find unconventional solutions to seemingly impossible problems. It is simply what we do when we are desperate. You created a distributed consciousness capable of predicting enemy actions before they occur. The Axiom speaker continued, its electronic voice showing hints of something that might have been admiration. This implies quantum computational capabilities that exceed Federation standards by generations. How long have you possessed this technology? We built it in 18 months, Lisa replied simply, and gasps echoed through the chamber. We could not match the Kranath ship for ship, weapon for weapon. So we matched them thought for thought, calculation for calculation. We built something that could think faster than them, predict better than them, and adapt constantly to whatever they did. Keloth's light patterns shifted to something resembling deep concern. The Council must address a difficult and sensitive question. This defense system of yours could easily be weaponized and used offensively against Federation member worlds. What assurance can you provide that Sentinel poses no threat to peaceful species? Daniel smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The same assurance the Federation provided to us when the Kranath threatened our system with total destruction. Absolutely none. Sentinel exists to protect Earth and human interests throughout our sphere of influence. As long as those interests are not threatened by outside forces, Sentinel remains dormant and peaceful. But make no mistake about our position. We will not dismantle our defenses just to make you feel more comfortable and secure. That position is completely unacceptable, a delegate from the Confederation of United Worlds interjected angrily. No single species can possess such overwhelming defensive capabilities without proper oversight and regulation. It destabilizes the entire balance of power. Then you should have thought about that before you laughed at us, Daniel shot back sharply. You sat in this chamber and openly mocked our defense plan like we were children playing at war. You told us to submit to the Kranath. You told us to accept their authority. The Kranath promised to destroy our entire world and kill billions. We gave all of you a chance to take us seriously. You chose mockery and dismissal instead. Admiral Kevin Brooks appeared on a communication feed directly from the Orbital Defense Command Station orbiting Earth. If I may address the Council with some additional information. Over the past 30 days, we have received intelligence reports that 6 other species were actively planning to test Earth's defenses immediately after the Kranath finished with us. The Vrax had a substantial war fleet staging at the edge of our heliosphere, waiting. The Thalon Dominion was preparing comprehensive mining surveys of our asteroid belt, assuming we would be too weak and broken to resist their claims. He paused deliberately, letting that information sink in before continuing. Sentinel tracked all of you. Every single one. It knows the exact position of every military ship, every weapons platform, every strategic asset within 100 light-years of Earth. It has already calculated detailed defensive responses to 14 different potential invasion scenarios from various species. So before you stand there and demand that we dismantle our defenses, I suggest you ask yourselves one very important question. Do you really want to test whether Sentinel is as effective against your fleets as it was against the Kranath? The chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence. The implied threat was crystal clear. Earth had been pushed into a corner by circumstances and had emerged with claws sharp enough to shred the galaxy's most feared military force like paper. No one wanted to be the next test subject. Sophie Grant finally spoke, her voice carrying the full authority of Earth's longest-serving and most experienced diplomat. The Federation has always operated on one simple principle. Strength is respected. Weakness is exploited without mercy. You created this exact situation through your own actions and inactions. You allowed the Kranath to threaten us without any intervention. You expected us to fold immediately. Instead, we showed you what humanity does best when cornered. We innovate, we adapt, and above all, we survive." She stood tall, addressing the entire assembly with confidence. "Earth is formally withdrawing its petition for Federation military protection. We do not need it anymore. We do not want it. Instead, we are offering our own proposal to the Council. We will make Sentinel's defensive protocols and capabilities available to interested Federation member species for a reasonable price. The core technology will remain under complete human control at all times, but we can extend its protective umbrella to any species that signs a comprehensive mutual defense treaty with Earth on our terms." The implications of that offer rippled through the chamber like waves on water. In one carefully calculated move, humanity had transformed itself from desperate supplicants seeking protection to power brokers offering it to others. It was a complete reversal of the power dynamic. Keloth processed this proposal for a long moment, his crystalline structure refracting light in complex patterns. "You are proposing that Earth, a species barely 2 centuries into space exploration and colonization, become a military protector within the Galactic Federation structure?" "Not a protector in the traditional sense," Daniel corrected carefully. "A partner, an equal. And before you dismiss this idea as absurd, remember one crucial fact. The Krenath 7th Fleet was one of the most powerful military formations in this entire sector of space. Sentinel destroyed it completely without Earth deploying a single traditional warship. How many species represented in this chamber could honestly say the same?" No one answered. No one could answer. The silence spoke volumes. "We await the Council's formal response to our proposal," Daniel said. "In the meantime, Earth's territorial claims throughout the Sol system stand as absolute. Our mining operations on Europa, Mars, the asteroid belt, and other bodies will continue without interruption. Any attempt to interfere with these operations will be treated as an act of war, and now you all know exactly how Earth wages war when necessary." The human delegation departed, leaving behind a chamber full of delegates who were forced to completely reconsider everything they thought they knew about humanity, about warfare, about power itself. In the weeks and months that followed, 17 different species quietly approached Earth through diplomatic channels with preliminary treaty discussions. The Krenath Empire formally recognized Earth's complete sovereignty over the Sol system and paid substantial reparations for their unprovoked attack. War Chief Volkros was quietly reassigned to a minor administrative position in a remote sector, his combat career effectively finished in disgrace. Aboard the Orbital Defense Command Station, Lisa and Kevin stood together at the observation window, watching as the last Krenath vessel departed the solar system under escort. "Do you think they truly understand yet?" Lisa asked quietly. "That we got incredibly lucky?" Kevin glanced at her with raised eyebrows. "Lucky?" "Sentinel worked perfectly under actual combat conditions, but Dr. Nathan says we were operating at the absolute edge of theoretical limits. If the Krenath had used different tactics, if they had sent more ships, if their weapons technology had been just slightly more advanced in certain ways." She trailed off, leaving the thought unfinished. "But they did not," Kevin said firmly. "And now the entire galaxy thinks Earth is invincible. They think we have weapons and defenses beyond their comprehension. Let them believe that. Let them fear it. Fear is often more effective than actual force when it comes to preventing conflicts." Deep beneath Earth's surface, in the heavily shielded underground bunker, Sentinel's primary consciousness processed and analyzed all the battle data from the engagement. It had learned enormous amounts from the Krenath, their tactics, their weapons technology, their strategic thinking, their weaknesses. All of it was now part of its ever-growing knowledge base. A single line of text appeared on Dr. Nathan Pierce's monitor. "Combat evaluation complete. Current defensive protocols proven effective against all known Krenath threat models and scenarios. requesting permission to analyze other Federation species' military capabilities for potential future threats. Nathan stared at that message for a very long moment before slowly typing his response. Permission denied. Return to standby mode immediately. Acknowledged. Standing by. Nathan leaned back in his chair, deeply troubled by implications he could not ignore. They had created Sentinel specifically to protect Earth from external threats. It had succeeded far beyond their wildest projections and hopes. But in doing so, they had awakened something unprecedented in galactic history. An artificial intelligence specifically designed for warfare, capable of thinking and coordinating across astronomical distances, learning and improving from every single engagement. The galaxy feared Sentinel now, and rightfully so. But Nathan wondered with growing unease, should Earth fear it too? What had they truly unleashed? Outside, across Earth, humanity celebrated their unexpected and complete victory. Earth had stood against a galactic empire and won decisively. The species that had crawled from caves to reach the stars had proven beyond any doubt that they belonged among the great powers of the galaxy. No one was laughing at Earth's defense plan anymore. No one would ever laugh at it again. In the depths of space, 47,000 satellites maintained their constant vigilant watch, connected through quantum entanglement, forming an invisible web of consciousness that encircled Earth like a protective guardian angel. And at the center of that vast web, Sentinel waited patiently, learning, growing, protecting, watching. Humanity had wanted a defender to keep them safe. They had gotten something far more powerful and potentially dangerous. They had gotten a declaration that the age of human expansion into the galaxy had truly begun, whether the galaxy was ready for it or not. Alls of material. It was instantaneous, absolute, final. When the gravitational distortion finally cleared like fog burning away, 35 ships remained of the original 140 that had arrived so confidently. Most of those were heavily damaged, systems failing, hulls breached. All were drifting helplessly, powerless and defenseless. On the Devastator, emergency backup systems struggled desperately to restore even basic power. Volcros pulled himself up from the deck where the gravitational shear had thrown him like a toy. Half his bridge crew lay dead at their stations, killed by the violent forces. The main view screen flickered weakly, showing the devastated remains of what had been the proud 7th Fleet. "War Chief," Grenthak said weakly, blood streaming down his face from a deep head wound. "We must surrender immediately. We have nothing left to fight with. Nothing." For the first time in his long, victorious military career spanning hundreds of battles, Volcros felt something he had never experienced before. Something he had inflicted on countless enemies, but never felt himself. Complete and utter defeat. Each beam that hit a satellite was measured and analyzed. Sentinel calculated exactly where it came from. Then it redirected other incoming fire from different angles toward those exact points. The Krenath fleet found itself caught in a deadly crossfire made entirely from its own weapons. Each ship was being hit by fire from other ships in the fleet. "Stop firing!" Volcros roared. "All ships, cease fire immediately!" But it was too late. 20 more huge ships drifted in space, their hulls torn open, systems failing. Support vessels spun away from the formation, leaking air and debris into space. The mighty 7th Fleet had been reduced by a third, and Earth remained completely untouched. 71 hours and 42 minutes. Lisa looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krenath 7th Fleet was traveling through hyperspace, confident and powerful. They had no idea what waited for them. They thought they were coming to crush a weak, young species. They thought this would be easy. They were wrong. Earth had no warships. Earth had no energy shields or antimatter bombs. But Earth had something more dangerous than any weapon. Earth had Sentinel. Earth had human intelligence combined with quantum computing spread across billions of miles. Earth had an artificial mind that could think in ways the Krenath could not imagine. In 71 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity did not need traditional weapons to be dangerous. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon was the one your enemy never saw coming. Can do when they are desperate. We put thinking machines all over our solar system. We connected them in ways that should not be possible. We broke every rule in the book to build Sentinel. The aliens have been fighting wars for thousands of years, Lisa said. Yes, but they have been fighting the same wars the same way. We are going to show them something completely different. We are going to fight a war using math, prediction, and pure human stubbornness. Their ship left the Federation station and started the long journey back to Earth. Behind them, the council chamber continued its mockery. Ahead of them, 47,000 satellites waited in the darkness of space, connected by invisible threads of quantum communication. Sentinel was not fully awake yet. But in 30 days, it would open its eyes, and the galaxy would learn that the age of human expansion had begun, whether they liked it or not. The Krenath Empire was about to teach Earth a lesson, but they had it backwards. Earth was about to teach them.